Hello chess friends and welcome to Azad of Chess channel and welcome to a spectacular game that has been played by the latest version of Stockfish, the powerful Stockfish 16. Today we see the fish battling it out against another top engine Seer in an amazing Richter-Rauser Attack, but today we see the fish how to play against the Richter-Rauser Attack in the Sicilian Defense. In my opinion, quite an instructive game. In my opinion, for those who have trouble maybe to meet the Richter-Rauser Attack, this is a perfect game for you with many strategic concepts, but of course later with some immortal tactics again performed by Stockfish 16. So let's see now what happened with the white pieces. The Seer chess engine opened with the move e4, c5 by the fish, knight to f3, d6, d4, modern variations of the Sicilian defense, and after move knight to f6, hitting the pawn. Here of course normal development is knight to c3 by Seer. We have knight to c6, the classical variation of the Sicilian defense, and now comes the Richter-Rauser attack with this idea bishop to g5. The idea is clear. White wants to give up the bishop for knight, mess up the pawn structure in front of the king, or here simply on the king side. So that's why the best way here to proceed is to play the move e6, connecting the queen to the knight, and if bishop to f6 happens, then we can of course pick it up with the queen and keep a healthy structure in the later stage of the game. We have queen to d2, preparing queenside castling here by the Seer chess engine, and Stockfish continues with the normal idea a6. Here the idea is of course to prevent the move b5, knight to b5 by one of those knights by white, but it's also preparation to later hit the flanks with the b5 by black himself, then afterwards maybe b4, a5, a4, whatever the position is allowing. Basically what we're trying to do is attack a white king after white castle simply here on the queen side. We have queenside castling immediately by Seer. Stockfish continues with bishop to d7, and now f3. f4 can be also played, but f4 I think is a little bit too rushed, this attack. The better choice is to play f3, g4, h5, h4, h5. If you play here f4, it can be met with bishop to e7, and now even if you undermine the pressure, the problem is now after bishop to f6 and queen to d6, queen takes d6 can be played, rook takes d6, and now also black can simply pick up the knight here on c3, b takes c3, and here I think black should be better. There is this weakness. Black's light square bishop is much better than this one. This is also a target. Many weaknesses in white's position, especially the c3 pawn, although white is up a pawn, but the messed up pawn structure I think would cause many positional problems in the later stage here for white. Rook to c8 is going to happen. Even I think king to e7 can be played now, rook to d8, simply getting all of the pieces into the attack, and I think black could have here a perfect endgame. So that's why f3, simply preparing g4, h4, h5, and similar ideas. We have knight takes d4 by the fish, releasing the pressure in the center, queen to d4, bishop to c6, improving simply the position of the king. So now comes a new move that Seer will introduce us here, a move that has not been played so far. At least I'm not seeing games in the database. It's a certain theoretical novelty. It's not a mistake or something, but maybe a better way to proceed is to play the move king to b1. It leads again I think into an equal position after bishop to c1, simply retreating with the bishop. So king to b1 I think would be very important move to liberate the square for the bishop, and still you have here progressive ideas f4, then later g4, g5, and similar stuff here for white. I think this is a beautiful continuation here for white. Also what you can do is maybe to play the move bishop to d3, then probably queen to a5, leading again into equality, because after bishop to f6, queen to f6, g takes f6, queen to f6, rook to g8, and bishop to g7 is then very dangerous to handle for white. So that's why here bishop to h4, good I think move still by the Seer chess engine, keeping the bishop very active, but preparing now also in some lines g4, and then later, if possible, even g5. Stockfish ignores simply this move, plays a powerful attack with queen to a5, and in my opinion this is the way to go. This is a move that you have to play in these types of positions. Here Stockfish leaves the knight on f6 it's of course not unprotected, but Seer can grab now pawn, and now the real fun starts in this epic chess game. So after move queen to f6, as I already have shown you, now rook to g8 is a huge tactical threat. Bishop to g7 is going to happen, and the bishop gets on the optimal diagonal, will also hit the knight on c3. We have queen to f4. Stockfish includes now even the rook into the game. Rook lift alert. You know, when the rook is up in Stockfish games, this rook will be probably sacrificed in the later stage of the game. I'll not, of course, reveal you the tactics already, but this rook will be really one of the most specific pieces of this particular game. So after rook to g5, king to b1, we have bishop to g7. Stockfish is now down a pawn, but builds slowly and surely an amazing attacking formation against White's king here on this side of the board. And now here the Seer chess engine doesn't react correctly, I think. Knight to e2 seems tempting, because in some lines you could also try knight to d4, maybe c3, fix simply the structure on dark-squares, but Stockfish is not allowing that. Stockfish plays very the optimal, the full aggressive moves in the later stage of the game. A better move instead of this move knight to e2 was, I think, to play the move rook to d3. This line would probably lead into drawish position after something like, I don't know, rook to c8, building up new pressure here against the knight on c3. Then White will continue with a3, rook to c5, maybe queen to g3, hitting the bishop on g7. And now after bishop takes c3, rook to c3, and rook takes c3, actually how White can defend is this amazing move, queen to g8. Not immediately to take out the rook, because Black has a tough time where to go with the king. If you go here to d7, then after queen to f7 and king to d8, queen to f6 leads into complications, because we can grab the rook like this, and now I think White should be better. So that's why here, instead of this move king to e7 that we have seen, is not good here for Black. You have to play king to d7, and now we can pick up, pardon me, you have to play king to e7, giving up here the rook on c8, and now Black has to retreat, and this should be again a pretty equal position. You can try, of course, b4, the fork, but now we pick up this one, and here after a couple of more moves, Black would deliver perpetual checks, and it would be, I think, a thematic draw. So here rook to d3 was, I think, the only good defensive move here for White. Seer missed that, played now the move knight to e2, and Stockfish plays a beautiful attacking move, bishop to a4, hitting simply here the pawn on c2. Now we have here b3. What should White do? What should Black do? Here Stockfish continues with rook to c5, and in this particular position, even if Black continues, like, I don't know, rook to d2, protecting somehow the pawn on c2, actually it can be already very dangerous after bishop takes b2. This is a huge tactical threat that Black has here in the later stage of the game. White has to solve this tactical problems. For instance, king to b2, rook to c8, we continue the pressure. You try, I don't know, something like queen to d6, then you get destroyed, rook to c5, and I'm not seeing good ways how White is going to defend the c2 pawn anymore. So even if you try king to a1, then of course rook to c2, rook takes c2, bishop to c2, the queen has to get back into the game, the rook is coming into the attack. You have to try, I don't know, queen to b2, but now with bishop to d3 and something like queen to a1, the position is collapsing, I think, here for White. White has to give up now the exchange. Has, of course, two minor pieces for the rook, but I think here the pawns are very weak, and here the knight is a little bit also attacked, to too much pressure against the knight on c1, so not a good position, I think, here for White. The engine gives here much better evaluation here in Black's favor. King to b1 would be then the continuation, and nothing spectacular again here for White. So that's why b3 instead of rook to d2, we have seen bishop takes b2, a huge tactical threat. But this move b3 again opens the dark squares in front of White's king, so new problems, new positional problems now in White's position. We have rook to c5. Stockfish continues in the most aggressive way. The problem is, again, here you cannot take. After b takes a4, you have to check, then the bishop is coming into the game, and then you get checkmated in this beautiful tactical sequence. So it's not working. After rook to c5, we have queen to d2. Stockfish, of course, keep the queens on the board, doesn't want to trade off more pieces, and now queen takes d6. Bishop to c6 here by the fish, and not allowing again the queens to be off the board. We have queen to d3, and now a5, preparing simply a4, trying of course to crack open the position here in the b file. We have a3, the Stockfish continues the pressure on the b file. We have king to a2, and now bishop to f6, a beautiful maneuver of the bishop, preparing simply the powerful move rook to d8. We have knight to c1. The Seer engine is desperately now trying somehow to get the minor pieces into the game, especially the light square bishop has not participated so far in the game, and when the bishop is not playing, then of course the rook is also not playing in white's game. We have a4. Stockfish is still trying to break the position. We have b4, and now after rook to d8, queen to e2. Now Stockfish calculated that the queen is simply far away from the action, and played now beautiful rook sacrifice on b4. Very wild stuff. The rook that started its journey from h8, then was on g8, then was here on g5, c5, and now g5, b5, and then afterwards gets sacrificed here on b4. Very crazy maneuver of the rook. Rook takes b4, opens up now the position, and immediately threatens a checkmate on b2. In order to save the game, white has to play c3. Stockfish of course takes, and now knight to d3 keeps at least the game for a while here for white. At least the b2 square is covered, at least the a1 square is covered. But the issue about this move is that this knight on d3 is blocking out again the bishop on f1, and Stockfish has now a great opportunity to deliver a very important check on f5. You will notice why it's important to deliver check on f5, because Stockfish continues of course the pressure with b5. We have queen to b1. The problem is now you cannot play queen to c1, because queen to b3 is immediately here a checkmate against the white's king. So that's why queen to b1, queen to d2 check. So here Seer has to play like this, and now comes this important check on f5. Pardon me, on c4 here by Stockfish. Seer has to retreat, and now the bishop comes again in a beautiful way into the game. Bishop to e7 kicks away the king. You have to now cover with the knight, and now after queen to c3, king to a2, Stockfish grabs here the knight and has now completely I think winning endgame here. Okay, white is of course up the exchange, but Stockfish has two connected passers that are supported by the bishop pair. The king is in danger, so too many elements. This rook is not participating in the game, so it's almost like here in this particular position Stockfish is playing with up a whole piece and up two whole pawns. So in my opinion, very a messed up game here for white. So we have queen to b2. Of course, again Stockfish is trying to keep the queens on the board. Bishop to c3. We have rook to c1. Finally Seer brings the rook into the game, but Stockfish supports it with b4. King to b1, and now an amazing move, king to e7. In the beginning I was like, why would anyone play now with the king, because we have to just push some pawns. But Stockfish noticed that it could have problems still on dark squares, and will play now beautiful set of moves here. h6 also, not allowing to get checked here maybe on g5. On g5 Stockfish still has beautiful opportunities of course to push the pawns further. We have bishop to d3 by Seer, and now after king to f6, queen to e2, king to g7, Stockfish secure the king in the most epic way. Still Stockfish is not rushing here. Stockfish knows that this pawn can be always pushed in the later stage of the game, but now the king is perfectly fine. And the only problem that I see in black's position is how to include maybe the light square bishop into the game. We have h4, queen to d4, bishop to c4, queen to b6, bishop to d3, and now bishop to d4. We have rook to c4, and now e5, supporting simply the bishop, keeping it very fixed here on a beautiful square on d4. What should white do? If you play here f4, this wasn't played in the game, then bishop to d7. That's the issue. This move e5 actually brings the light square bishop into the life. We have queen to h5, maybe bishop to c3. Now the queen is coming, and again I think a messed up game here for for white. So it's not working. Queen to d1, that's why instead of f4 by the Seer chess engine, Stockfish continues with b3. Rook takes d4. Okay, it's possible, of course, to give up the rook for the bishop, but these two connected passers, of course, are unstoppable now for white. We have bishop to e2, queen to b4, queen to d3. Stockfish pushed the pawn further. We have bishop to d1. A2 here by the fish, king to a1, and now a beautiful move b2. This is an amazing endgame technique here by the fish, because for king to a2 it seems so that you cannot promote the pawn here on b1, but now comes a beautiful bishop to b5. You cannot, of course, play queen to b3 because of bishop to c4 wins immediately the game. So that's why for bishop to b5, queen to c2 was Seer's next move, and now an amazing promotion on b1, which deflects now the queen to the square b1. Stockfish delivers a new check. Seer has to cover with the bishop. You cannot play, of course, king to a1 because of queen to a3 immediately checkmate. So that's why after bishop to b3 now comes the stunning queen to a4. Great really technique here by the fish. King to b2, and now the bishop can be taken, and it's obvious now. Really game over. King to c1. Stockfish traded off the queens, get the king closer to the action, attack simply the pawns. So Seer doesn't have better moves. Stockfish goes for all of these pawns, and after a couple more moves, the game ended here with this move. Queen to d4 in this particular position. The Seer chess engine resigned. Great game here by the fish. Instructive, very spectacular Richter-Rauser attack. This is the way to go. Without even castling, simply attacking the queen side, sacrificing first of all a pawn in the beginning, sacrificing then the rook for 2 pawns, creating a really unbalanced position, getting a beautiful bishop here all over the board. So in my opinion, one of the most spectacular Richter-Rauser attacks that I've seen in my life. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the Sicilian defense for sure. If you want to see more about the Richter-Rauser attack, check out our game so far that we have covered in this amazing chess opening. And if you want to see more brutal Stockfish games, but also some other top engine games, check out our commented chess games played by computer series. Here's also the link, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.